Hey guys, and welcome back. Today we are talking about commitment, and our scripture is Matthew 8:22. But Jesus said unto him, follow me and let the dead bury the dead. All this week we've been talking about like leadership, right? And you got to remember that when you are a leader, you have to be even more committed to the cause than your followers are. Because leadership is not about being a leader, it's more so about being committed to a cause. And those are the things, that's one of the things that followers are watching for. Right. Jesus did the same thing. He asked for commitment from his disciples. He told them to follow me and I'll make you fishers of men. The Bible tells us that their response was that they immediately dropped their nets and they followed him. That's a big deal. You know, it wasn't, fishing was not a recreational activity. It wasn't something that was just fun. It was their livelihood, and it was their jobs and being providers. And they just put all of those things down and they followed Jesus. This is the level of commitment that Christ is looking for.
Awesome. So something that comes to mind is when Jesus tells us to pick up our cross and follow after him. And before that, he even mentions that if you love your family, your mom, your dad more than him, that you're not fit to follow after him. And that sounds kind of hard to take in, but it's true. He wants people to be fully committed to him. He wants people to give them their whole heart, not just little pieces of their heart.
An example of a person not committing would be there was a potential disciple and he went to Jesus and said, hey, I want to follow you, but let me bury my father. And again, Jesus said, our scripture, right? Follow me and let the dead bury the dead. And that may sound like, you know, Jesus is into funerals or Jesus isn't into, you know, a lot of other things that get tied up into that. But what Jesus was essentially doing was he was testing this man's commitment. Is he willing to put the kingdom before himself and before the things that he deems important? But like all things, commitment takes time.
It does take time. So, you know, when you talk about following Jesus, you have to count the cost to these things, which means that you have to take the time to ask yourself, can I fully commit to this thing? And when you do commit yourself to Jesus, he gives you the strength that you need in order to follow after him. And it may not be, you know, leaps and bounds, but any kind of baby steps, that's super important to him. So I would say go for it. If you're learning how to play an instrument, for example, that takes time. If you're learning how to play the guitar, whether it's keyboard, guitar, you have to take the time out. You have to put down your video games. You have to maybe not play with your dog as much and take the time and learn those instruments. It's a part of being committed to something.
Absolutely. And I would also add to that, when you're giving your word to something, right? We know that Jesus was our example. When Jesus gives his word, he follows through on it. That's something that's still happening today, right? I mean, so this week, let's make it our challenge that when we give our word to do something, that we're doing it. So for example, if you gave your word to clean your room, make sure that you're following through on that. If you gave your word to, you know, help somebody with something, make sure that you're following through on that. Staying committed is what being a leader is really all about.